Right guys, welcome to my Sunday video. Right, let's get straight to it, no messing about. So as you can see here, I've got two pieces of this Zebrano hardwood left. You've seen it on one of the other projects where I milled it all down. So on the end here, I have got a bit of snipe from when I'm running through the planer. So I just want to make sure everything's as accurate as it can. So I'm just going to cut them ends off. I'm just going to square them ends up, just get the bit of snipe off. Now, the bits there that I'll use them for something else, maybe plugs or something. So I'm just going in here again with my calipers, just making sure I did get all my measurements right first time round. There's no harm in checking, takes a couple of seconds. So just going in, cutting it to size now. Now this project, there's actually a pair, wait till the end. It's a really smart project. I've tried to be a bit clever on this project, tried to up my game somewhat. Whether it's paid off, whether it's not, you can be the judge of that at the end. It took quite a while to do, and this is a good point really, is if I was to sell these, what would I get for them? In the comments when you see the finished items at the end, bear in mind there's a Zebrano, and they took me best part all in all with time, because I timed it, you know, I obviously filmed it all, you know, over a few days doing this video because it was a bit mind-bending. But if it was sort of time related, you could easily do these in a day. And so what would you charge for them? What I want to know is what you charge for them, because you try and sell stuff like this on Etsy, it's absolutely swamped with cheap stuff that's mass produced. And when you try and sort of put your handmade goods in front of people, I don't think people really appreciate the amount of work that goes into stuff. So it'd be interesting to know your observations and comments about what you make, if you sell them, how you price stuff, that kind of stuff. It was a bit of an eye-opener for me, really. So I'm just going over every corner, every edge is going to have a 45 degree. So I'm just running through the table saw here, nice and sort of simple, and just keeping it very safe. I do apologise for not having the last Wednesday video out. I got bogged down with something else, and this just some of the things I had to think about within the build was a step up in class for me. Whether I've pulled it off, like I say, you're going to be the judge of that, not me. But it's one of these things. You've got to keep trying to push yourself, push. And that's all you can do. And that goes for anything in life. Make sure you're pushing yourself at every opportunity you can. So for me, woodworking is all about the enjoyment. I don't sell my projects. But when I was having a look at similar things to this, not with Zebrano, not with the intricacy I'm trying to build this, they were going for peanuts. So there's the Zebrano all cut. You can see there I've cut, you know, into like 45s on every corner. So this was not a tricky part, but what I wanted to do here, it was just, I'm going to cut a series of holes in every single one of them panels. Well, in 8 of them panels. And in each panel, there's 24 holes that have to be marked out. And I mean, proper accurate. You've got to get these looking spot on. If you don't, it looks a mess. And I think I've done it right. But the time-consumingness of this, and this is what, you know, when people make things and make things, people don't really appreciate what goes into things that are being made, especially handmade stuff, the care, the attention, the detail, the maker that's put in sort of all that energy into making sure everything's sort of spot on, things that people don't see. And maybe that needs sort of relaying when you're selling your items. So what I did here, I was just taking regular breaks in between doing this, because I had to make sure I've got all the holes spot on in the right place. I was trying to reduce tear out. I also I had to use the first panel as a template, so I didn't want to wreck that first panel as well, because honestly, I was skimming it with this wood. So all I had was this wood, and I got it to the bones. I was lucky to actually get 2 items out of them 2 boards. So now I'm going back in, and I'm just going to put a slight chamfer. And here's where I go about detail. On the inside, you won't see, obviously, the back of them holes. And on a few of them, there's a little bit of tear out. And you could leave that, but I didn't. I decided to go in, and with attention to detail, is go over every single hole. Just to tidy it up and clean it up and give it that extra 5% of my care and attention, just to make sure I made this, I'm going to be proud of it. And hopefully, I want all you guys, when you make something, you know, don't just make it for the sake of making it. If you're making it to sell it, make it with purpose, make it with pride. And I go there, I'm looking at every single hole, making sure everything's right, and then everything gets sanded about 3 or 4 times, various grits. I think on this project I went up to a 320 grit in the end. So now I'm just making something for the top here. Now that split, as I was doing it, that split. So I thought, you know what? Here again, here's where sort of creativity and artistic sort of vibe takes over in sort of me. I thought I'm going to use that in my design. I'm going to make a feature of that look. I like the look. It was sort of like a little blessing. Them Temple tool saws, you got used to use these in this project with a bit of venom, and I've got to say, absolutely superb. There's a bit of getting used to with the Japanese saws because they're on the pull, and it's often sometimes you forget that, but you soon your muscle memory starts getting it. So again, I'm just going in nice and easy here. I'm just making sure I'm nice and safe there. I know my fingers look a bit close to it, but I've got my fingers on the pull away, so if anything's going to go, my fingers are going to be well away from that. And it was just an odd shape, really. So you can see there I'm going with that shape. Now, this was something else I wanted to try. I didn't go to it, so I just wanted to glue 2 pieces together here. This was just a part of a design that I thought I could try, but obviously didn't come off, and you'll see why in the end. So now I'm shaping these. So with that cut, that break in that wood, it gives me an idea for a shape. So I'm just going over everything. Everything gets shaped, angled. I'm trying to use a bit more hand tools, as you can see, into the builds now. So more marking out here. I'm going to make one of these bench hooks, but the other way around, because obviously it's a Japanese pull saw, so it's not going to work with, you know, a push stroke as effective if it was on the other side, if that makes sense. So I'm looking at design here. I've got all the parts laid out in front of me, and I'm just looking at design, see if there's anything I want to change at this stage. But there's not really. So in this build, there is no screws, anything like that, no wooden dowels. All it is parts glued together, which is plenty strong enough for what the project sort of entails. I mean, you could, like them 2 parts of wood there and gluing together, you could pop a screw in underneath. It's just that I'm trying something where I'm trying to use less fixings. I'll be moving into doing some joints. It's just, this is part of my learning curve, and hopefully you sort of get that, what I'm trying to do. So I'm just making sure every corner is done. Now, I missed a bit up where I glued these together. I don't know where the footage went. This is the bit when I was getting sidetracked, I think. Oh, it is, and here's a bit of the gluing. I think it was the putting it together when I, folded it all together. So even with me gluing here, I'm trying to make sure I missed the bit where it all dried and everything. So I'm just looking at it here now. I'm not quite happy with the miter joints, but I can remedy that. There's a few little bits where there's a gap here and there. So what my whether it's a botch or whether it's something that everybody does, just going over a few bits with a bit of glue and then sanding over everything. And you know what? In the end, you couldn't even notice. You didn't know. Honestly, you would not know, no matter how hard you looked. So what I decided to do then is just go over everything with the same method, just to blend everything in right, and another little bit of detail and more sanding. Everything was sand on these projects. So I'm just marking out, this is for the base. So like you can see that bit of wood there, it's all sort of dropped in on a 45 sort of angle. You could butt joint all this, you could do all that, but it's just, I really wanted to push myself. Did it go 100%? No project ever goes 100%. But am I happy with it? I'm really happy with how the project turned out. But my thing is, and the conversation I was having with Shelley is, if I was to sell these, it costs me probably £100 all in to make these, if you factor in my time, and that's excluding any profit I wanted to earn. Now, if you're a business, your business needs to earn profit to survive. So I'm just going with Danish oil here. So that was me just testing. So yeah, so your business needs to survive. What would you get for them? These stand me at about £100 all in, believe it or not, if I factored in my time, what I did. So I'm just going in with some foam. Every single hole gets Danish oiled inside and out. It gets about 3 coats of Danish oil. Now this paper here, I think it's called Shoji paper. It's like a natural paper, and it's got like plant extracts in it, through it, plant fibre, should I say. It's not one of these green uggy type tree lover thing. But yeah, and it's what it's for. It's diffuse lights. Now I see this in sort of Japanese panels and all that kind of stuff. Now I didn't get this in time. What I would have done is I would have fitted it directly to the back of each panel, but I didn't have time to do that. So one of the designs I did see on the internet is where they roll it up, and it sort of gives the diffusion of the light, extra dimensional, whatever. Whether that's load of nonsense, I don't know, but it seemed to work. So, and I needed to hide these lights. I didn't have a Forstner bit for the inside of the base to recess them lights, just to hide them a bit more. So remote control lights, battery powered lights. You can dim these, you can time them, you can pick these up off Amazon. So here's them sort of finished, but you'll see the pure finished article in a minute. Now they're flashing in the video, they're not flashing. Honestly, that's a solid block light. I don't know what it is, why the video's picking it up like that. The Danish oil just gives an extra bit of depth to that, rather than just a basic mineral oil. The Danish oils give them a deeper, darker depth. The simplistic feet on the bottom, the handles on the top. Let me know what you think of them handles. Come from something that happened, obviously, as you've seen that. All the holes, all uniform, everything mitered, lit up like that. See what I mean about diffusing that light inside? These are for bedside table lamps. Like that's what they've been made for. These are not going anywhere. I'm going to keep these. I was going to sell them, but I like them that much. I'm going to keep them. So anyway, guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments what we sort of was touching about on pricing and stuff. Thanks for watching. I've really enjoyed this project. You're all amazing. And on to the next video.